Hello and welcome to episode 296 of my podcast all about knitting and crochet and my yarn shop here in Wiesbaden, Germany. I'm Kiko and today is November 10th, 2025. And today I'm wearing a very nice cowl that I knit in 2017. So I've had it for quite a long time. And this was the first time I knit the, not alpaca, the Angora yarn by Seidenhase. Seidenhase is a German company who own their own, what are they called? They're not rabbits, they are rabbits, not hares, right? I keep mixing them up. The animals that give you Angora yarn, they have their own animals, they treat them kindly, they are very careful with them. So this is very, can't think of words today, very responsibly sourced yarn, that's what I'm trying to say. They hand dye their yarn, and this is the lace weight of their yarn, and I think this was 50 grams, which seems a bit crazy because it's a really long cowl. The pattern is from a magazine that's called Piecework, and they show old patterns from like historic patterns or very old books or very old ideas. And so that's very interesting. And I used to get the magazine every month. So I had a subscription for that magazine a long time ago. But yeah, so this was one of the things I knit from there. And you knit with this lace pattern. I don't remember in which direction I knit, but then for the lower end, there's a knitted on edge. So these stitches were knit perpendicular to the cowl, and they give this nice lower edge that sort of sits round your body in a very nice way. Yeah, and I'm wearing it together with my gnome pullover. I thought with the year of gnomes, another year of gnomes this year, I have to at least once wear my gnome sweater. This pullover was designed by Sarah Shearer, who designs all the other gnomes that I knit through time, and it has these nice gnomes in the yoke, and it has some nice little mushrooms at the bottom of the pullover. And I remember this is the first time I tried the leatherback jacquard technique, so I cast on extra stitches to catch the floats because there's quite a bit of space in between the mushrooms. And yeah, otherwise the pullover is knit out of opal sock yarn, as most of my pullovers are, and I'm really happy with it. And that I knit in 2022, so it's only 3 years old, but I've really enjoyed it a lot during that time. And because of the pink gnome hats, I felt I could wear the pink cowl with it. And at the beginning of the video, I had, okay, I've put it on the wrong way. I draped the cowl so that you mostly saw the cowl and couldn't really see the gnomes yet. And I also turned the upper part round a bit so that it sat closer to my neck. So I do that if I want it really warm. And by the way, the cowl is long enough that I can easily wear this like a hat around my head, and it's still long enough to go down to cover my neck. So this is a really nice piece that I have. And if I don't want it as close to my neck, I could also wear it more open like this. Then I'd have more air. But what I can also do is I can pull the lace to sit, what I said, nicely around my body like this. And then the gnomes would show if I was sitting higher up. But yeah, so there's many ways to wear this cowl, and I really like that. And especially, I just love the softness of the Angora yarn. It's just so nice. Okay, so much to what I'm wearing. Then on to finished objects. I have one finished object and 2 new cast-ons. Sorry, not sorry, but that's how things work. And at some point, I'll have more finished objects than new cast-ons. I'm pretty sure the day will come. So what's my finished object? No big surprise, I think. Oh, it might be a surprise for you because last week I forgot to show Gnettle, the gnome I was knitting on. For some reason, I had the project here. It was in my book, but I forgot to show her. So now you get the finished Gnettle. So I think I'd shown the beginning of the hat, and I know that I'd shown the legs because that was clue 1 of the gnome. But then I continued knitting the hat. So the hat was clue 2 and 3. And then clue 4 and 5 were the body. And I used a different orange yarn, but it's, as you can see, it's the orange gray yarn by Opal that I used. And then the last clue were the nose and no beard. That was another surprise for Gnettle. She has hair, and her hair, she has really nice locks. So you knit the hair, and then you wet it and you let it dry, and then you undo it. If you just knit it and unpick it straight away, her hair would be a lot longer and less curly. You could do that as well, but I really love curls, so I got the knitted piece completely wet and let it dry, and then and now her hair is really nice and curly, and yeah, so I'm really happy. When so I brought Gnupkin as well because Gnupkin and Gnettle are the same project. So it's a finished project now that I have finished both the gnomes. And you can see there's a bit of a size difference, even though I used the same needle, the same number of stitches and the same number of rounds. I just put less stuffing into Gnettle than into Gnupkin. And whether you prefer this or that is absolutely up to you. After I stuffed Gnupkin and I started shaping him, I thought he was a bit overstuffed, but because I had to close up the hole before I did the shaping, I couldn't really get it out easily, and I didn't want to go to a lot of trouble, so I left him the way he was. But I decided for Gnettle, I would try with less stuffing and see how that turns out. And I must say, I'm really happy. I like them both a lot. Maybe the perfect gnome would be somewhere in the middle of the two. I don't know. But yeah, I'm just happy to have finished them both. I think they're both very, very funny. I like the fact that this hat has stripes, even though that's not in the pattern. I just put the stripes there because I wasn't quite sure that I would have enough yarn of the brown gray yarn that I chose for that color. So I decided to combine it with black, and I'm really happy I did. And I also think that the gray in the body works nicely with the black in the hat. So yeah, very happy with my finished Gnettle. Several people have asked me whether this was going to be my November gnome, but I said no, because I started knitting her in October. So my November gnome has to be started in November and finished in November. So this is just another gnome that I knit, and it's sort of part of the mystery knit along for those two patterns, but it's not my November gnome, so I still haven't finished. I still haven't started the November gnome. I haven't started yet, so I kind of finished it. Anyway, that's my finished object for today. On to works in progress. I start with socks as usual. I added a few rounds onto this 6-ply sock that I am knitting for my husband as a Christmas present. Not a lot. Someday I'll knit more, and I hope to finish them by Christmas. If not, it wouldn't be a problem. It's not so much about Christmas that I want to get them finished, but it's the fact that one of his one pair of the 2 pair that he has that I knitted him has holes on the sole, so I really want him to replace that pair. So that's why I'm knitting them, and I really want to get them done at least by Christmas. The only sock for now, but another project out of sock yarn, a small project out of sock yarn, is one of the 2 new cast-ons that I started last week, and that's going to be a hat. And I'm using Opal sock yarn that I rewound on my ball winder because there was a problem with the skein of yarn. And it's a colorway from the Beauty series. So that's the yarn that has a bit of vitamin E and some other things in it, so that it's a bit softer than the normal opal yarn. And so I thought that'd be a nice idea to knit for a hat. And I wanted the hat to be double-stranded. So now I'm using the inside and the outside end of the yarn held double. And I'm knitting a Japanese hat designed by Bernd Kessler. So I'm knitting this hat. So it's called Japanese hat only because it was designed in Japan by a German knitwear designer. So there's nothing typically Japanese about the hat itself, but it's a very nice and clever pattern. I've knitted before, and it's a nice book. It also has other kinds of hats in the book. And I hope the size is right. So with this hat, the sizing happens through the yarn and the needle size. And I'm using the sock yarn held double, and I'm using, I think, a 4.5 millimeter needle. Or is it a 4 millimeter needle? I think it's a 4 millimeter needle. So it's a bit smaller than I usually use for the yarn held double. But I hope it works out. So this is just knit and purl stitches. And by the way that you put the knits and purls, the ear flaps sort of happen automatically. So it's a very easy to knit hat. And I want to give it away as a birthday present in 2 weeks' time. So I hope I'm going to show this as a finished object next week. So that's the new project. Then another small project out of sock yarn, also with the yarn held double, but that's knit on a 5 millimeter needle. Yeah, that's the baby cardigan. And especially for baby clothes, I like to use bigger needles so that things come out soft and nice. So these are the two sleeves. I think I already showed them last week. And I think I'd already started the front and back, if I remember correctly, but I continued knitting on that. So you can see there's a bit of a edge in seat stitch pattern, and then the seat stitch is carried up at the edge as the button band or buttonhole band. So right now I'm knitting buttonholes on both sides, so that later on I can decide on which sides to put the buttons, and then I'll know exactly where to place the buttons, because I can just sew them over the buttonholes. And the rest of the cardigan is knit in stockinette stitch. I've done the one row of decreases to get it slightly smaller higher up. And yeah, so that's coming along nicely, and I'm really happy about that. I haven't heard that the baby has arrived yet, so I'm still waiting, and I still don't know whether it's going to be a boy or a girl. We'll see about that. So that's that. Then I crocheted a little bit on my leftover yarn crochet project. So this is the project where I crochet a long chain of chain stitches. So this is the last leftover bit of yarn that I attached, and I haven't finished crocheting that. And then the chain that I crochet, I wind around this ball. So this is again fairly small, so I have to crochet a bit more chain. And then I pull the chain from the middle of this ball, and I continue crocheting on the bottom bit of the little basket that I want to crochet. I still enjoy that a lot. I'm using half double crochets, so it crochets up fairly quickly. And the restricting factor is really to have enough yarn. So I have to make sure to crochet more chain stitches so that I have more yarn that I can put in here. I'm still increasing the number of stitches, so I still want this to be a bit bigger. So yeah, I want it big enough that 3 rolls of toilet paper will comfortably fit on it, and then I will stop increasing and I will crochet the sides of the little basket, and then we'll see what that looks like. Yeah, that's a fun little project that I love, just picking up every now and then and adding a few stitches here or a few stitches there. Yep, so that's that. And then another leftover yarn project that I am working on are the dishcloths that I am knitting or crocheting. And when I was last on holiday, I took a handful of leftover bits of cotton yarn with me. And this was that was the one dishcloth that I had started knitting but not finished. And I just cast on a random number of stitches and I started knitting a 2-color brioche. And because it ended up being too wide, I started incorporating decreases. So I decreased in that stitch on that side and that stitch on that side. So that was the front or the right side of my project. And then on the wrong side in the beginning, I did the simple decreases where it's not the same on the front and back. So here I have the line that keeps going and then those stitches are quite close to it. But here I do have a line here, but these stitches, they just completely disappear. And then later on, I did the other kind of decreases where the stitches sit a lot closer. So it's a lot more like the front. But on this side, so here I wasn't doing it the right way. And then here I tried to do it the right way, but I used the wrong stitch. So this decrease sits with the wrong stitch. And then I went back to this first stitch and then tried to do the decreases the correct way. But this was just to play around and have a dishcloth. And then at the end, I cast off stitches and I crocheted a hanger. So it's a bit of a crazy thing, but that's fun to just wipe stuff and clean stuff. And then I started the next tiny dishcloth. Well, not tiny. I started with a few stitches and I'm going to increase until I feel it's big enough, and then I'll do decreases. And I've finished with this color yarn and almost finished with this color, but then there was a knot in the yarn, so I stopped using this color and I'm using the white yarn again that I also used in this dishcloth. And I will keep knitting my leftover cotton yarns, hoping to get rid of them and ending up with a few more dishcloths. And then at some point I'll decide that I have enough dishcloths and I will finish that project. That would be good. Yeah, now on to shawls, mystery shawls. I continue knitting on the One Love Mystery Knit Along by Locatelli. So the second clue came out end of last week, and I will show it now in case somebody doesn't want to see it. Last week I showed you that I chose this grey Royal Alpaca yarn by Hansa Farm, and it started off with this garter stitch section, and then there was this bit of lace. That wasn't a whole lot in clue 1, and then clue 2 repeated this bit, and then we again have a bit of lace pattern. This time it's a bit more, but I haven't finished it yet. So the rows are getting longer. So this is what the whole thing looks like. Yeah, it's a bit difficult to show and hold, but this is what we have so far. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing clue 1. Pretty confident I can finish it this week before the clue 3 comes. And then with clue 3, they'll probably be even bigger because they're more stitches. And then I'll see whether I can keep up or not. But I'm not really too keen on keeping up. I just enjoy the knitting and I love the yarn. Now, the other mystery knit along is not really a mystery anymore because Stephen West has long since published or come out with all his clues, and I'm still knitting on clue 3 and I'm showing it now. So this is clue 1 and 2, and then clue 3 is actually 2 parts. I'm still on part 1, so this is where we knit those triangles and then the rectangles, and then it's always a stripe of rectangles on top of each other, and then it ends with a triangle. And I added 2 more rows of rectangles. So this row and this row I knit last week. I'd hoped to do all 4 rows, but yeah, didn't happen. I did 2 more rectangles with the glitter yarn, so I wonder if you can see that. So this green rectangle has a little bit of a green glitter yarn in it. I think it's just impossible to see. And then with this yellow yarn, I use some, oh, I think you can see that, some golden sparkly yarn. So I think I held it double for that because the little, what's it called? Is it a spool of glitter yarn? I don't know. It's in a big mess and I had like at least 3 or 4 ends hanging off of it. So I think I held the yarn double just to get rid of the excess stuff hanging around it. So that seems to have worked nicely. So let's see if I'll do the same with the blue just to make it more visible. And I still need 2 mohair rectangles. So I already did the mohair in blue and yellow. So I still have to use the green and the red mohair. And that will all happen in the last 2 stripes. And the blue glitter yarn, yeah, will happen in the last 2 stripes. So that's the Mystery MusiKal by Stephen West, knit out of very colorful opal sock yarn. And that brings me to the pullovers and tops I am knitting. And I continued knitting on the Summer Catty corner by Nicolor that I am knitting. I'm using this, I think it was Lana Grossa yarn that I bought on holiday at some point. And I started the yoke, and when I finished the first ball of yarn, I put in the ribbing, but with a contrast yarn that I hadn't that planned at the beginning, but I really like the idea. So I have more of the main color for the main body of the top. And I've now reached the point where I put the sleeve stitches on hold. And the funny thing or the special thing about the Catty corner is that once you start knitting the yoke, once you've finished, so you start with this little triangle, and then when you have reached a certain size, you cast on more stitches. And then the 4 parts are divided to the same size. So now basically the front is as wide as one of the sleeves, which really makes for very, very big sleeves. You could do that if you wanted, but her idea is that you can cast off stitches, as many stitches as you want, so you get that arm width that you want. And I love that about her patterns, that you can just adjust so many things to fit the way you want your garment. And the same now with the front and back. She designed the pullover to have a bit of an A-line, and you can decide how much of an A-line you want. You can increase stitches more quickly or more slowly, and I will probably not increase at all. So I just want to get as much length out of this yarn as possible. If I find the time to concentrate, I would probably like to do the ribbing on the sleeves now and see how many stitches I want to use, how many stitches I want to knit or sew together. And then I can just use up this yarn. And if I still have a bit of pink yarn left, I will also do some of that yarn at the bottom of the pullover. And if I use it all up for the sleeves, that'd be fine too. I can finish it off with this yarn. Catty corner, love the pattern. Probably not the last time I've knit that. So I think with most of Nicolor's pattern, I feel like I want to do them again. Now the other pullover I'm knitting is a test knit, and that's the Halo There sweater. And I think the designer's name is Nicole Thorsen. I wanted to look it up and I forgot again, but I think that's her name. So I've said it, I'll look it up for next week, hopefully. But I am knitting her pattern with added stripes. So the stripes are my idea. The pullover is knit top down. You can see that the back goes to here, but the front only to here. So there are some very cleverly made short rows here. And I have now put 5 of my contrast colors in, always a few rounds of black in between. And this is the last color that I want to use. So after I've put in the 2 rounds of black, I will use this color, and then I'll go back to the light pink and repeat the colors. And I really, really like the way this looks. And I'm, yeah, can't wait to continue knitting on this and see how the pattern develops. Brushed Baby Alpaca by Hansa Farm is what I'm using for this. Now, I actually have no blanket to show you. I didn't manage to crochet on my big Mandala Madness blanket, and I think I will probably have to carry it home to get some work done on it. And I've also tried to knit another motif for my knit blanket, the Starflower blanket by Tin Can Knits, but also that didn't happen. But someday soon. But I have 2 more projects to show you, and that these are the knit-alongs that I am hosting on my channel and in the Ravelry group. This year we knit a different pair of socks every month, and I'm very happy to say that the November pattern, I finished the German and the English video, and they, I can never think of how to say that, but the videos, I loaded it up to YouTube last week, and this week I want to publish the pattern, the video for this sock, and that's the 2-color sock. That was the topic for last month. This was the October knit-along, and I showed a slip stitch pattern for the leg of the sock and a color work pattern for the foot, how to knit color work with 2 colors held at the same time or one after the other, and how you can knit the sock inside out, things like that. And I picked 2 different patterns from 2 different books, and I think it's quite funny how they look together. They are different, but I think they still work together nicely. And I finished the pattern in the foot, and I think I can start the toe decreases now. I'm really happy about that. And the colors are all in one colorful yarn by Opal, so that's really nice. And the last project, so for this month, I crocheted a granny hexagon and turned that into a sock or a house shoe. And I had decided to use the 8-ply sock yarn by Opal for that, and I used one of the new colors from this year. So Ice Zeit, which is Ice Age, is the name of the series this year, and this is one of the colors. This is the color that I am using. I'll quickly show you the other colors. So there's a bright yellow with green and orange. There's a green, orange, and pink purple colorway, which I think looks a lot like flowers. Then there's a darker, more autumnal vibe colorway with blue and a slightly darker orange and darker red. And then there's my favorite color, beautiful turquoise and a bit of blue and gray. So I will probably knit myself a cardigan, probably a hexagon cardigan out of that colorway. And my sister will, I think she wants to crochet a cardigan out of this colorway. So this is a very beautiful light gray, light and middle gray mix in this very icy looking, I think, colorway in the series Ice Age. So, and now to my hexagon sock. I already finished the first one. This crochets up really quickly. So I started it here in the middle, and I crocheted a hexagon, and it's the same kind of hexagon that I did for the hexagon cardigan. So for the cardigan, you have like back and front and then a sleeve, but for the sock, you hold it like this. And I crocheted 2 sides together. So those 2 sides and those 2 sides. And at the beginning, I was wondering whether I should only crochet half of it together to leave this open to make it easier to put on. But then I tried it on, I realized this is a lot more flexible than I thought. So it's no problem for me to put the sock on. So I decided to close it completely, but you could keep the top half open, and then this would sort of fall like this and looks quite nice too. So you can fold the cuff down if you want to. I did not crochet the ribbing that I'm showing in the video because for me this is high enough. But if you wanted, you could also add a crocheted ribbing. and I crocheted the toe exactly as I show it in the video, and I only had to add one more round to get it to fit me. So yeah, really happy about this. This is, for me, this is more of a house shoe and not a sock, but you could wear it anywhere you like. And if you use thinner yarn, you could probably wear it inside a winter boot, or you could just wear it around the house or in the bed, whatever you want to do. Really happy with that. And that's it. That's everything. I hope this is actually this time everything I knit and crochet last week. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!